In today's tutorial, let's do a simple flower pot cozy using Phentex yarn. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as Yarnspirations.com. In today's tutorial we are going to do a simple flower pot cozy. Look at the beautiful colors, and this is using Phentex Slipper and Craft Yarn. This is also made by our friends at Yarnspirations, and today I'm going to show you how to make this. Now in this particular pattern it allows you to customize to any kind of flower pot that we have, and so I'm going to choose one of Diva Dan's pots here, and I'm going to show you how we're going to be able to cover it and follow the instructions in order to do so. So what is exactly Phentex? Let's talk about that next. So introducing Phentex Slipper and Craft Yarn, and this is also made by our friends at Yarnspirations. What exactly is it? Well, according to the instructions, this is 100% olive fine Exolon, and this is a really interesting kind of yarn just like you see here. Now the advantages to this type of yarn, it is a slipper yarn, so it will not stretch or shrink. Okay, and it keeps the shape that you knit or crochet in, and these colors are non-fading and will last you a very long time. They're meant for long time wearing, so you'll probably have these for years, and it's also stain resistant. So this kind of yarn is very perfect for these kind of things, because if you get water and especially if you use regular acrylic or wool on something like this, then it's really gonna have a hard time. But because this is slippery yarn meant for wear and tear, this is a perfect kind of yarn for this. So we're going to need one ball of Phentex yarn in order to cover a basic pot, and what we're going to do is we're gonna go through some of these instructions here, and we're gonna customize it as we go, because you can see that it has a customization. So we're going to look for making the diameter the same diameter as the base of your particular pot, and then we're gonna work our way upward just like so. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cheat the system today. I'm going to show you how to be able to do this without any what are those called? Those slip those slip stitches, so you don't see any slip stitching going up in the work at all. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm gonna show you how to then get your base, show you how to back loop, and then how to grow up. So let's grab our 4.5mm US 7 crochet hook today and our Phentex yarn, and let's get started. Just as a disclaimer, I'm going to tell you, like, when I started off this tutorial I got off to a really rough start. You could see that, and I was struggling at a bit. Phentex is a little bit tough to get used to, but once I got out of the camera and I just went upstairs and put my feet up, I actually got some really great stitch work. One thing I did like about the Phentex is that I was learning how to use it in the bottom, so you'll never see it, but as I got to the edge then I realized how to be able to manipulate this yarn. It just is a matter of not being so tense with it, and to make sure that you capture all the fibers that are belonging to it. So you may struggle when you're using this yarn, but that's quite natural. It is a different property than other types of yarn on the market, but this is a great example. So this is just a stitch marker, we can pull it out, but this is a great example of, you know, applying some of your crochet work to things that you can have around your home, such as this simple flower pot cozy. So let's get on with this tutorial. So let's begin by creating a slip knot. So let's just do that, and there are slower tutorials and beginner tutorials on how to do things on our YouTube channel if you need that. So this kind of yarn is a little bit interesting to work with, so you want to keep it so it's a little bit tense so it does not open up. So if you have all these fibers open up on you, it gets harder to get that hook through. So let's begin. We're going to chain 4. So just yarn over and pull through 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what I'd also recommend at this point, do you see how my hook is not like a saw cut? It's more of a molded. These kind of hooks are easier to work with this yarn versus any kinds of ones that have a really sharp edge. So let's just insert our hook into the beginning chain, yarn over, and then pull through, and then we have our center ring of our flower pot cozy right at the bottom. Let's move along to round number 1. So round number 1, I'm going to show you how to get started, and we're gonna avoid the slip stitching even though it's asking us to do it, and I'm going to start. So we're gonna chain 1, and I want you to put 8 single crochets into this ring. So just going right into the ring and just count these out. So 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 7, and 8. And what I want you to do, we're going to avoid the slip stitch. So what I want you to do is pull up a loop and grab some spare yarn just like this, or a stitch marker, and just insert your needle or your hook underneath that last stitch and just drag this through. okay, and just leave it, let it hang there. You know that this is the stopping and starting then of this particular round. So when we go to start up the next part of this, we know every time we pass this point, and we're gonna move it up every time, we know that we've gone in one complete revolution. Now this end is now hanging out, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna trim that just to get that out of the way. It's easier to show you how to work with this without tails blocking any kind of view. Easy to cut, but it's not as easy when you wear these kind of things as far as like catching on stuff. So let's begin in round number 2. Now getting started on round number 2 is relatively simple, but where do you start? Okay, so what I want you to do is that you count backwards. So that count the first one that it's under. So 1 and count back to 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And so right where that 8th one is the first stitch of this round. So in this round we're going to put in 2 single crochets into every stitch. So I can either count at this point, which I don't need to, because what I'm gonna do is I'm going to keep rotating around until I get to my stitch marker once again. So what you want to be very conscientious of, what you're just witnessing me doing this now, is that you just want to be a little bit easy with this stuff. You don't want to be too tense because it's gonna be harder. So you're going to put 2 single crochets into each one of these particular stitches. So getting used to Fentex is the first battle, I guess you could say, but you can't have everything right. Rome was never built in a day. So if you want to use this kind of material, you just gotta be a little bit patient with yourself, get used to it, and then eventually it'll come to you naturally. If anything, what's gonna happen is after you finish this kind of project, you might be a little bit looser in your tension, so on other projects like soon after this. So just putting in 2 into each, and I wanna show you what to do with that stitch marker once I get there. And you can see that I'm not counting, but there was a total of 8 single crochets if you are counting, and you're putting 2 into each. So here's the stitch marker. So you're gonna put in 2 into this one, and then the final one of the 2, so the second one of the 2, you are going to move that stitch marker up. So just inserting your hook underneath and just going underneath. Whoops, and just pull it through. So you want to pull it through so that it's showing under that last one. Okay. So let's begin round number 3, and I'm gonna show you the similarities now from all this way to the base of actually starting to go up to the side of the container. So we're going to move up to number 3. So remember, I am substituting. So the very next stitch that's available to you, it says that there's going to be 2 into the next. So we're avoiding that chain 1 because we're going in a continuous circle. So it's gonna be 2 into the next, and then 1 into the next one after that. And that's the repeat pattern for round number 3. Okay, so there's 2 and 1. So there's 1, and I got 2. Okay, and now the next one is by itself. So there's 1 by itself. So you just want to be a little bit patient with yourself and just continue to do it. So the next one is 2 into 1, and the next one is 1 into 1. So here's the similarity. So every time you go in to move up to a certain round, that's just gonna change. So there'll be a 2 in the first one, and then next time there's gonna be 2 by themselves, and then 2 into the next one, and 2 by themselves, and then the row after that there will be 2 into the same one, and then 3 by themselves. So that distance gets further and further of the ones that are staying together. So in this particular round it's 2 into 1, and then 1 by itself. Continue to do that all the way around to the stitch marker. So I'm coming up all the way around, and I have 2 stitches left, because you can see that that's 2 before the stitch marker. So the reason for telling you that is that the final one should be 1 by itself. So that I just put in 2 into that last one, so the final one will be 1 by itself. Why is it just 1? And the reason for that is that the first one started off as 2, so therefore this last one should just be 1 by itself. Just take it and just pull that stitch marker through the new section here. Okay, and let's move up, and I'm gonna show you again another revolution and show you how it's increasing, because once you get that you can customize this for any size pot. So moving up to the revolutions, here we go. So we're going up number 4. So there's gonna be 2 into the next one. So 1 and 2, and the next one, 2 will be by themselves. So 1 into that one, and moving to the next stitch there will be 1 into that one. Okay, so the repeat pattern on this whole round is that there will be 2 into 1. So 1 and 2, and then the next 2 will be by themselves. Okay, so just continue to do that all the way around, and that's around number 4. So what I want to do is that I want to continue in the same fashioning going all the way around so that I end up with a 4-inch diameter, because that's the width of the diameter of my pot. Okay, so I want to continue to do that same thing going all the way around. So this one is 2 into 1, and then there will be 2 by themselves. Please do that all the way around. So I'm coming up all the way back around. I just put in 2 in this one. I still have 2 stitches left, and those are the ones that'll be by themselves. So just watch that stitch marker when you're pulling it through. I don't ever use this yarn very often, so it's a little bit of getting used to, even for me, for myself. I'd rather not put a tutorial online and say yeah it's all really easy, because it's just about adjusting yourself, and I'd rather you see me kind of struggle a little bit as I get used to it, because I think it's just realistic when it comes to working with different yarn products. So as we move up, so round number 5, so this time the first one will have 2 into the first one, so 1 and 2, and then the next 3 will be by themselves. So 1, 2 and 3. So are you seeing the similarity? So I told you there will be like 1 by itself and then 2, and then the next round there's 2 by themselves and then 2, and now in this one there's 3 by themselves and then 2. So you just have to keep it in that same fashioning going all the way around. As we get bigger and bigger, it just gets more and more stitches that stay by itself. So in this one there's 3 by themselves and then 2 into 1. Please do that all the way around. So I'm coming up all the way back around. The final 3 will be by themselves before I hit that stitch marker once again. So what I want you to do is that I want you to continue to grow your plant holder or your pot cozy to the size diameter that you need. In my case it's 4 inches, using that same concept. So now that we did 3 by themselves, the next one will be 4 by themselves and then 2. But we always start off with the one in the front being 2 by themselves, and then this time there will be 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. And please refer to the directions if I'm not being clear enough for you on that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grow this out to 4 inches because that's the base of that, and then I'm gonna show you how to do that right turn on the base of it, and then I'm gonna show you how to grow it up then on the side of the pot. So it's actually really quite easy, and let me show you how to do that. So get it to the size that you need, and then join me back here. I'm going to get mine at 4 inches, and then I'll show you how to do the bend of the pot as it goes upward. Okay, so I've got my 4 inches now. It went a lot quicker than I expected it to go, and now what we're going to do is that we're going to create the bend that's in the base of here. So we have just like you see here. So we have like the flat edge and then going all the way up. So what we want to do is we want to create that. So we're not going to do a slip knot or a slip stitching, any type of things like that. We have it marked where your stitch marker is, and so in stitches, if you're new to crochet, is that there's always 2 loops. Together they make up 1 stitch, but the front string is called the front loop and the back string is called the back loop. So if I go only into the back loop, so I kind of dive up over top and only go into the back loop and single crochet, that's called the back loop single crochet. Okay, so I want to go in single crochet with the back loop all the way around. So I'm not going to add any more additional stitches. I'm just going to put 1 single crochet into every back loop going all the way around. Please do that for the entire duration, all the way into the stitch marker once again. So in the final stitch you're just going to put 1 back loop single crochet. So now here's the thing, is that we now have the base of your pot. Okay, so here it is here. Let me grab my pot. There it is. Okay, so now all I just need to do is go in a continuous circle all the way around. There's no magic dimensions to this. You can just continue to go around and around. So just starting in the next stitch, you do not need to carry this stitch marker up anymore. You're just gonna go in continuous circles all the way until you get to the top of your pot. So just have to take your pot and just kind of measure it out. Now because you did the back loops only in this time, this is going to have a natural bend that's going to go upward, and because you've done that, it's going to fit that pot quite nicely. So you just have to go in around in a complete circle and go as many circles as you need to go in order to get the height, and you're going to see it starting to bowl up, and then eventually you'll see the container forming within the yarn itself as you go all the way around. So when I come back, I'll have the rest of this particular project done, and I'll show you what it looks like. So as you can see, I'm almost done my sample. I just slid in my pot inside, and it fits like a glove. It really does. So one thing I did notice about this project is that I got off to a really rough start as I tried to learn how to use Fentex, but once I got past this and I kicked up and just relaxed, because it's not always easy to teach in front of people, especially here on camera, is that once I kicked back and relaxed, I actually got great stitch work as I did. So once we've been going around in a complete circle, so what I want to do at the very end is that I want to just finish this off, and so I'm just gonna immediately just stop and I'm going to slip stitch into 3 stitches. So 1, 2 and 3, just like that. Okay, and so I'm just gonna take my scissors and cut my yarn like this, and I'm just gonna pull this through like this. So this stuff is really quite it will lock nicely into position. So all I'm just going to do is that I'm just gonna weave in the final right into the very top, and for people that don't like to see stopping and starting, you can just turn this around so nobody can really see that you've done that. So now that it's in, I can just simply trim my work just like this, and this turned out pretty good. So really quite happy with it. If I want to change out the pot, just slide it out. You can see it keeps its shape nicely, and if you want to just change out the pot, you can just do it like that. Nice and simple. Okay, so this is how you do a simple flower pot cozy. Till next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the crochet crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. Enjoy.